Okay, guys, so let's talk about gay Africa and this whole patriarch versus matriarch thing. Because you motherfuckers are starting to annoy me with this. Now, when I look at the whole situation, when I look at the whole debate and argument, there's a lot of generalizations that people like to make, even though they may not really be true. First off, let's go and start with our definitions. And before even that, there's a lot of generalizations that people like to make. Here's the thing, though. Africa as a continent can't really be all grouped as one. You can't just group everybody in Africa as one, because we know this. Africa is a very diverse continent. Not everyone in Africa you would even consider black, at least for today, you know what I'm saying? But even historically speaking, not everybody on there is black. Not everybody has under the same tribal concepts, the same, how do I say this? Nobody has the same values, right? It's just a continent, okay? Now, it's only nowadays, you know, in the 21st century that we have this idea of Africa and African unity, which is a good thing in my opinion. But in terms of like history, we can't really go do things like that. We can't really interpret things that way because we're looking at it through a modern lens. But let's look at the definitions, right? Matriarch, right? Matriarch, a woman who is the head of the family or tribe. So basically, you just think of this as like woman in charge, the woman king. You know what I'm saying? I heard that movie was terrible, but you know, like just the woman in charge, and then patriarch is just the opposite, right? Men in charge. Now you look at patrilineal and matrilineal. This is where it kind of gets a little confusing, but basically matrilineal means that it's basically inheritance. It's inheritance, and it basically means that inheritance is passed down through the female line. So this was what the kingdom of Kush was like. Although you have some societies which they work matrilineally, but there's still patriarchy. So the Kush kingdom was an example of this, where the throne, even Egypt as well, where the throne was passed down from the mother side, but at the end of the day, it was mostly a man who was in charge and leading. Patrilineal is pretty much the opposite. It's really just things are passed down to the males, and this can happen for a variety of. It can happen for a lot of different reasons, to be honest. Some people like I was talking in the server with some of the guys. Some got some really smart guys in there, but they were telling me that especially when you look at the difference between agricultural and pastoralist societies, you'll see that agriculturalist societies tend to be more matrilineal compared to pastoralist societies. They tend to be more patrilineal, and the reason for that is because specifically when looking at a pastoralist societies and looking at what is inherited, specifically it's what that's inherited. It's the animals, right? It's the cows, it's the goats, the camels. So when you look at pastoralists, especially cattle pastoralists, what you see is that since they tend to be more aggressive, and since, you know what I'm saying, they need to, and the reason why they're more aggressive is because they have cattle to protect, and you can't really leave that to a woman to protect. It's a man who's supposed to protect the cattle. The reason why is because cattle are very easy to lose, you know? Cattle are very easy to steal. So that's why that's why pastoralist societies tend to be a little bit more patrilineal. So many African societies were patriarchy though. Many, and it's not a European import. That's another thing. Like people always like to say patriarchy is a European import. You guys just want to be like the white man, and it's like, bro, like shut the fuck up, bro. Shut up. Okay, you probably watch too many conscious videos or anything or something like that, bro. Like out of my face with that nonsense. It's not a European import. Actually, I also want to show you guys a little paper. It's from the band. It's called the Nilotic Contribution to Bantu Africa. And so a lot of the whole narrative of people saying that it is a European import, they basically try to say that before the Europeans came, we were all patriarch. Before the Europeans came, we were all matriarch, and Africa was just better. Life was just better. Black men weren't suffering. You know what I'm saying? And when the evil Europeans came with their little patriarchal society, this is when Africa started suffering. When black men started suffering, it's the reason why everything bad is going on now. Complete nonsense, right? But looking at this, right, this paper called the Nilotic Contribution to Bantu Africa, it kind of gives us a story, or not the story, but it kind of gives us the situation of what happened when specifically the Luo expansion happened, right? The Luo are Western Nilotic. Okay, these Western Nilotics were pastoralist people who were expanding out of the Barkazal region in South Sudan. Barkazal, I don't know how to pronounce it. Something like that. But they were expanding out of South Sudan, right, going into the rest of South and East Africa. Okay, and this was around like 1008, between 1000 and 1400 AD. So what it says here is, wherever the new elements were present, settlement patterns became more dispersed. Ironworking and pottery became the occupations of specialists. Systems of inheritance were changed from matrilineal to patrilineal forms, and political systems tended to become more centralized through the domination of seated cultivators by more mobile and warlike pastoralist elites. So you guys can see what happened, right? The pastoralists represent the Luo expanding, and the seeded cultivators represent the Bantu. And I think it's pretty self-explanatory. And basically, if you guys want me to dumb it down, is the Luo pastoralists came, they set shit up, right? They changed the system of inheritance from matrilineal to patrilineal because they were pastoralists. This is how they've been doing things, right? And if you look at many pastoralist societies as well, in Africa, in the Near East, right, in the Middle East, in Arabia, we tend to have more patrilineal form of inheritance, you know, and this is not for no reason. It's like I said, cattle, you have to protect them. You get what I'm saying? Women don't protect cattle, it's men, you know, and this is why these societies tend to be more warlike, like they said, the warlike and mobile pastor. This is why we tend to be more warlike and aggressive, because I guarantee you, like, South Sudan is a country, right? It has more cattle in that country than people. It's a very violent country, you know. So I guess I just destroyed that, or I just destroyed that idea that it came from patriarchy, came from Europeans, because as you can see, even if you want to say, oh, well, this is an import from somewhere else, other Africans have already been practicing it, have imposed it. Yes, they have imposed it on other African groups. So what is the claim here? The claim is done, it's broken, it's finished, it's debunked, you know? But, you know, obviously there would be some matriarchy societies as well. But for the most part, even if even if some of the societies may have been matrilineal, they could have still been bro, I'm kind of heated up here. They could have still been patriarchs. So, you know, when you go into the whole homosexual thing, right? Some tribes may have practiced it, right? But for the most part, you can't group all of Africa together, because, well, tribe A might practice it and consider it part of its culture. It might not even be part of culture. It might just be some people just decided to do it. Then tribe B, on the other hand, rejects it. So, for example, the Maasai, they have not. I think there was like this one conservative guy. He went to Maasai, right? He was going to talk to the Kenyans, and he like asked them about the idea of like transgenderism or gay. Like, what world the clip?
What if a man decides that his gender identity is woman?
A woman has its own duty, and a man has its own duty, and a lady cannot do the duty of a man, and a man cannot do a duty of a woman.
Can a man become a woman?
No.
No?
No.
What about a transgender? Transgender?
No.
No?
It look like if you want to become a lady but you're a man, you have something wrong in your mind. Something wrong in your family, something wrong in you.
What about if someone was non-binary?
Come again?
Non-binary?
Uh-huh.
Do you know, like someone is
you're not a woman, you're not a man.
Yeah, someone is neither. There's something else. Is that?
He's saying we have never seen things like those. For a man, he has a penis. For a woman, he has a vagina. So we know this is a lady, this is a man.
What if it's a woman with a penis?
Both.
Is that? People are laughing. Is that a dumb question?
The Messiah was not having it. The Messiah weren't colonized. These were village men, bro. These were men still living in the village, men still living home, the traditional lives, this traditional way of life. You get what I'm saying? So you can't call them colonized at all. You have no right, especially as some. And this is another thing. I'm going on like a tangent, but this is another thing that I hate when people do. I hate people when Africans don't agree with the whole narrative of we were gay, we were matriarch, all that stuff, right? They're quick to point the finger and call us colonized. The same people who live in Western countries, right, record on Western. Look, I'm not speaking, you know, myself personally, right? Yeah, I live in America. I live a Western lifestyle, but so do you, the person who calls the African colonized. Especially, you can't call this Messiah man colonized at all. You don't have the right to, just because he doesn't agree with your narrative. But yeah, This video was kind of, I kind of just had to make it because earlier I ran into a live, or someone I know was on a live with this one female on TikTok, and they were talking about patriarchy and how it's a European import and how it's destroyed the black community and how we need to go back to matriarchy and how we need to let go of patriarchy and patriarchal ideas. Some of the things they said were okay. When you're talking about destroying the patriarchy, I have a problem. You know, a lot of what they were doing was misunderstanding or misinterpreting masculinity. So they brought up points like, well, men need to be able to express their emotions and da-da-da-da-da. Masculinity and patriarchal systems or ideas don't tell you to ignore your feelings. It tells you to not let them control you. You should take a look into the philosophy of Stoicism, okay? And it's not about neglecting your emotions. Obviously, look, you can express them in certain types of ways, but it doesn't always mean crying about it. It doesn't always mean etc., you know? Yeah, talking about it can be good, you know, but, you know, there are more effective ways to go about it, you know? It's not just about, oh, we need to express it more. Sometimes you're feeling, like a lot of guys, we go through depression because, you know what I'm saying, we don't have enough money in life, or we're not as successful as we want to be. And here's the thing is though, we want to be successful. It's not about, you know, we're just super pressured. We want to be successful. We want to make something out of ourselves. Part of the masculine frame, you know, you want to improve, you want to make progress, you want to see growth. But I guess that's a whole nother video for a different day. The point is though, it's the masculine qualities which makes somebody competent to be a leader, or like competent enough to be a leader. It's the masculine qualities that make you a leader. Things like assertiveness, forward thinking, being direct, all this stuff. These are masculine qualities. And so this is why, and these qualities tend to be more, they are more common in men. We're just built for it better. It's not really rocket science. Yeah, could a woman who has these qualities also lead? Yeah, I have no problem with that. But on a general scale, I mean, look, men are just more cut out for it.